Hey everyone, welcome back. You know that back to school feeling, all those fresh starts? Well, we're going to tap into that today,
Okay.
but with a twist.
It's a feeling we can use anytime, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our guide is this blog post by Lestallion. It's called 50 Back to School Journal Prompts. Now, before you think this is just for students, it's not. These prompts are like a reset button for anyone.
Yeah, they can apply to so many things. And Lestallion grouped them into categories, which is interesting. Goal setting, first day reflections, building new habits, navigating challenges, and staying motivated. It's like a roadmap for personal growth.
I think so. Okay, so let's jump into that first one. Setting goals. Lestallion asks, what does academic success mean to you? And it made me think, success, it's not the same for everyone, is it?
No, it's personal, right? You got to define what success means to you and focus on the effort and growth, not just the grades or whatever.
I like that. Okay, there's another one. It asks, how do you balance academics with your social life? I mean, find that balance. That's a challenge for everyone, not just students.
It is. This prompt makes us think about our time. What are we committed to? Life's got so many parts to it, you know? We have to find balance between all our roles and everything.
Yeah, that's key. Prioritizing self-care,
Yeah.
setting boundaries. Okay, this next prompt, this one caught my eye. What is one new habit you'd like to develop this school year? Small changes, big results, right?
Habits are the building blocks. You focus on one key habit and you set yourself up for success. There's so much research on habits, and it all boils down to consistency. Small, consistent effort over time. It makes a huge impact.
So true. And Lestallion even says small goals lead to big results. Patience and persistence.
Right. Definitely.
This next section, this is where it's interesting. First day reflections. So Lestallion asks, how are you feeling about your first day back to school? Simple question. But why acknowledge those first day feelings?
Self-awareness. When you know how you feel, especially when starting something new, you can manage those emotions better. It's about understanding yourself so you can move forward with intention. What about this section stood out to you?
I like the one that says, what does a successful first day look like to you? Again, it's defining success on your own terms.
You're setting your own benchmarks right, based on what you want, not what other people expect. Success, it's not a destination, it's a journey. It's about those little wins that keep you going.
Okay, this next prompt, this one's kind of fun. It asks, what is one fun memory from a previous first day of school? Why revisit those happy memories when you're starting something new?
Well, think about it. Our past experiences shape how we see the present. Bringing up those good memories helps us be more optimistic, sets us up for success. It's fascinating how our brains work. They make these connections. So when we think of good things, we're setting a positive tone for the new beginning.
It's like getting in the right headspace.
Mindset.
Okay, on to building new habits. Lots of good stuff here. So there's this prompt. What is one habit you'd like to build this school year to improve your study routine? Pinpoint those habits that'll make a real difference, right?
It's finding those small things that can make your day better. Research says it takes like 66 days to make a new habit. So this prompt isn't just about finding the habit, it's about sticking with it.
Consistency is key. So another prompt. How do you plan to stay consistent with your new habits? I think accountability plays a big role here, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. Accountability is huge for making habits stick. It's about what works for you. A buddy system, maybe? Or a tracker? Or you could reward yourself when you hit a milestone.
Yeah, find what works for you. Okay, this next one. This is relatable. What is one time management habit you want to strengthen? I mean, time management, it's a struggle.
It is. It's hard. But you can get better at it. Learn some skills. This prompt gets you thinking about specific techniques, like the Pomodoro technique or prioritizing your to-do list and getting rid of distractions. Find what works for you.
And sometimes it's about ditching what doesn't work.
Absolutely. Knowing what's not working, that's the first step to finding something better.
Okay, so this one, it's all about well-being, taking care of yourself. What is one healthy habit you want to incorporate into your routine this year? You can't be successful if you don't take care of yourself right.
It's all connected. Our bodies, our minds, our emotions, you can't have one without the others. This prompt makes you think about those healthy things that'll help you overall. Maybe it's moving more, getting enough sleep, or practicing mindfulness.
Yeah. And Lestallion says something so important. Habits shape success. The habits we build now, they'll impact our future.
Like building a house. If the foundation is weak, the whole thing falls apart. But if it's strong, you can build something amazing.
I like that analogy. Okay, now on to something a little different. Navigating challenges.
Yeah.
All about being resilient.
Challenges happen. That's life. It's how we deal with them that helps us grow.
So true. So there's a prompt. What is one potential challenge you anticipate this school year? Why is it good to think about challenges ahead of time?
It's being proactive. When you know what roadblocks might pop up, you can plan how to get past them. It's like having a plan ready to go.
Not avoiding challenges, but being ready for them.
Building that mental toughness.
Speaking of resilience, this one's good. How do you stay positive when faced with academic challenges? When things get tough, it's so easy to get discouraged.
It is. So for me, I try to reframe the situation. Instead of seeing it as a setback, I try to see it as a way to learn. Like, okay, what can I learn from this?
I love that. Changing your perspective, finding the lesson in the challenge. Okay, here's another one that's important. What is one way you can seek help when you're struggling? We don't have to do this alone, right?
Oh, definitely not. It's brave to ask for help. It shows strength, not weakness. It's about using your support system.
Oh.
A friend, family mentor, maybe even a therapist.
Sometimes just talking about it helps you see things more clearly.
That's right. Social support is so important. It helps us feel connected and not so alone.
Now this prompt, it asks you to think back. Think about a previous challenge you overcame. How did it make you stronger, and what did you learn that you can apply to future difficulties? Why look back at past challenges?
Because it gives us really good insights and helps us build resilience. When we remember how we've gotten through tough times in the past, it helps us feel more confident that we can handle whatever comes next. It's about realizing how strong we are.
I love that. It's like building up a collection of strategies.
That's a good way to put it. And speaking of learning from the past, Lestallion makes a great point. Growth comes through challenges. Those challenges, they help us learn and develop. They push us to be better.
Okay, now the last category for today, staying motivated.
This is all about those things that keep us going, you know? That inspiration, both from inside and outside. Motivation, it changes all the time. So you got to have some tricks to keep yourself going.
So true. So this prompt asks, what is one thing that motivates you to do your best in school? I think it's really important to understand what motivates us.
If you know what drives you, it's easier to stay focused on your goals and keep your energy up. It's about figuring out your why. Why are we doing this? What's the end goal?
Finding that reason inside yourself.
Exactly, that inner motivation.
Now, what about those times when you lose your motivation? This prompt gets into that. How do you stay motivated when you're feeling discouraged?
Keeping that motivation up, it's tough, especially when you hit a bump in the road. You got to have some ways to get yourself back on track. Maybe picture your goal in your mind. Break down those big tasks into smaller ones. Surround yourself with positive people. Find what works for you.
It's like giving yourself a pep talk.
Exactly.
Okay, next up, celebrating wins. What is one reward you can give yourself for staying on top of your studies? Sometimes we forget to give ourselves credit for all the hard work.
Rewarding yourself, it helps you keep going. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just a little treat, a break to do something fun, or even just acknowledging that you're making progress. That pat yourself on the back.
It's important to celebrate the little wins, right?
Totally. Speaking of wins, this prompt is interesting. How do you find inspiration when your motivation is low?
I like this one because sometimes you just need a little push. Where do you find inspiration when you're stuck?
So many places. For me, it's nature. Sometimes it's music, or reading stories about people who overcame something tough. It's about finding that spark that gets you excited again.
It's like having your own playlist of inspiration.
You got it. And on that note, Lestallion says motivation comes from within. That's so important. Real motivation, it comes from your own goals and values.
Not relying on other people to motivate you. It's about that fire inside.
But sometimes that fire needs a little help. That's where those external sources of inspiration come in. You got to find that balance.
So true. Lestallion reminds us that motivation ebbs and flows, but with the right mindset and tools, you can keep the momentum going. Motivation, it's not constant. You'll have ups and downs, but you can stay on track.
You just have to recognize those changes and know how to handle them. Build up that mental resilience. Know that even when your motivation takes a dip, you've got the tools to get back up.
I love that. And this final thought, it really stuck with me. Stay focused on your goals and remember why you started. It's so simple but powerful.
It's about keeping that big picture in mind. Why are we doing this? Remember your purpose. Let that fuel you.
Okay, we've covered a lot here. 50 prompts, and we've just scratched the surface.
Each one is so deep, it takes time to really think about them and apply them to your life.
Absolutely. But before we move on, I want to hear from you. What are some of your favorite prompts from this list, and why?
That's a tough one.
I know, right? There's so many good ones.
I think I really like.
Take your time. We want to hear what resonated with you.
You know what? I keep coming back to the one about reflecting on a challenge you overcame. It just reminds you that you've been through tough stuff before and come out stronger. We all have that inner strength, even when we forget about it.
I love that one too. It's like giving ourselves credit for how far we've come already, right? And speaking of growth, it's interesting how Lestallion talks about back to school. It's not just about school itself, is it? It's that feeling of always learning and getting better no matter what you're doing.
Absolutely. It's about new beginnings and using that energy to improve yourself. It's like when you get a brand new notebook, all those fresh pages just waiting for your ideas.
Okay, before we get too excited about notebooks, let's get back to those prompts. There's one in the Navigating Challenges section that I thought was really interesting. It asks, what is one mindset shift that can help you navigate difficulties this year? It's all about how our thoughts can change things, right?
Oh, for sure. Your mindset is huge. Just a small change in how you think about something can make a big difference. Like, instead of thinking of a mistake as a failure, what if you saw it as a chance to learn? That changes everything.
It's about choosing to be positive and finding the lesson in every experience. Now, this next one is a bit more practical. It asks, how do you manage time effectively when juggling multiple responsibilities? I think we've all been there, especially as life gets busier.
Time management is a constant juggling act. You got to find what works for you and be ready to change things up as needed. One thing that helps is prioritizing, figuring out what really matters and focusing on that. It's easy to get caught up in the urgent stuff, but it's the important things that really matter.
So true. And speaking of staying focused on goals, there's this prompt in the Staying Motivated section that I found super helpful. It says, how do you break large tasks into smaller, manageable pieces to avoid feeling overwhelmed? Sometimes a big task can just feel paralyzing.
Absolutely. When you break a big task down into smaller chunks, it doesn't feel so scary. It's like climbing a mountain. You don't try to jump to the top in one go, right? You take it one step at a time.
It's about making a plan and focusing on one step at a time. And sometimes it's about giving yourself permission to not be perfect.
Progress over perfection. And that reminds me of another good prompt. How do you remind yourself that progress takes time? It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see results right away, but you got to remember that real change takes time and effort.
It's about trusting the process and celebrating the small wins along the way. What strikes me about all these prompts is that they can apply to anyone. It's not just about school, it's about growing as a person, no matter what you're doing in life. They give you a way to handle new challenges and make positive changes.
I totally agree. They're like a toolkit for self-reflection and setting goals that you can use anywhere. Starting a new job, launching a business, just trying to make positive changes in your personal life. These prompts can help you figure out what you want and how to get there.
It's like having a personal coach, but instead of a coach, it's a journal and your own thoughts.
I love that. And speaking of your own thoughts, self-awareness is so important in all of this. These prompts really encourage you to pay attention to your thoughts, your feelings, your motivations. That's where real growth starts.
You're right. Self-awareness is the key to any change. It's about knowing yourself, what you're good at, what you struggle with, and what drives you. It's about being honest with yourself about where you are and where you want to go.
And journaling is such a powerful way to build that self-awareness. It gives you a space to explore your thoughts and feelings without judgment. It's a place where you can be honest with yourself and really listen to your inner voice.
It's like having a conversation with yourself on paper. Okay, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier, defining success on your own terms. The blog post really emphasizes that, and it's such an important point. It's about letting go of what other people think and focusing on what truly matters to you.
I agree. Success isn't one size fits all. It's about setting goals that line up with your values and what you want out of life, and then celebrating your progress as you go. It's about finding what makes you feel fulfilled, regardless of what anyone else thinks.
It's so easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others and wanting their approval. But at the end of the day, real success comes from within. It's about living a life that feels true to you, even if it doesn't look like what other people expect.
Beautifully said. And these prompts can really help you figure out what that looks like for you. They encourage you to think deeply, explore what motivates you, and create a vision for the life you want to live.
It's about taking control of your journey and designing a life that reflects your values and dreams. It's about being the author of your own story.
And sometimes that story will have unexpected turns. That's where resilience comes in. It's about being strong and flexible enough to adapt to change and overcome challenges. It's about knowing that setbacks are normal and that you have the power to bounce back stronger than before.
I love that. It's about embracing the journey, all of it, and using those experiences to learn and grow. Okay, before we move on, I want to highlight one more prompt that really stood out to me. In the Building New Habits section, Lestallion asks, what is one habit you want to let go of this school year? I think that's such an important question because sometimes letting go of old habits that don't serve us anymore is just as important as building new ones. It's about making room for growth and change by releasing what's holding us back.
It's like cleaning out your closet. You get rid of the stuff you don't need anymore and make space for new things that you love.
It's about creating a more intentional and fulfilling life by choosing habits that support your well-being.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much power we have to shape our lives through the choices we make every day.
It's about realizing that we're not just along for the ride. We're the ones creating our reality. We choose our thoughts, our habits, and ultimately, our destiny.
I love that. It's about taking control and creating a life that you truly love. Okay, I think we've covered a lot here, but there's still so much more to explore.
Personal growth is a never-ending journey, right? That's what makes it so exciting.
And what's really cool about this blog post is that it gives you a way to keep reflecting and improving yourself. It's not a one-time thing. You can come back to it throughout the year as your goals and priorities change. It's a resource you can use again and again as you go through different stages of life.
It's like a personal development toolkit that you can always turn to for guidance and inspiration. And the best part is that it's flexible. You can use these prompts as a starting point and then make them your own, tailoring them to your specific needs and goals.
I love that. And that's what makes it so relevant for our listeners. No matter where you are in life, there's always room for growth and new beginnings. It's about embracing the possibility of change and making choices that align with your values and aspirations.
It's about taking that back-to-school energy and using it to create a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling.
So I think we've done a pretty good job of unpacking Lestallion's 50 back-to-school journal prompts so far. What do you think?
I think we've hit the main points and given our listeners a good foundation for using these insights in their own lives.
Awesome. I'm feeling inspired and ready to try some of these prompts myself. What about you?
Always up for a little self-reflection. These prompts are a great starting point.
All right, well, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
I love leaving our listeners with something to think about. It's like a fun little homework assignment.
Exactly. So here it is.
Oh.
Think about the power of journaling. How can the simple act of writing down your thoughts and reflections actually rewire your brain for success? It's a fascinating question that I think is worth exploring further.
Yeah, it is a tough one. There's so many. I think, the one about reflecting on a previous challenge you overcame, that one sticks with me. It's like a reminder. You've been through hard things before and you made it. It shows you've got that inner strength even when you don't realize it.
I love that one too. It's like saying, hey, good job.
Yeah.
You've come a long way. And it's funny how Lestallion talks about back to school. It's not just about school. It's about that mindset of learning and getting better all the time, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, new beginnings, using that energy to improve yourself. It's like when you get a brand new notebook, all those empty pages just waiting for you.
Okay, hold on. Before we go on a notebook tangent, let's get back to the prompts. There's one in navigating challenges that I thought was really interesting. What is one mindset shift that can help you navigate difficulties this year? It's all about how we think, right? Our thoughts can change things.
Definitely. Your mindset is everything. Even a tiny change in how you see something can make a huge difference. Like, let's say you make a mistake. Instead of seeing it as a failure, what if you saw it as a chance to learn?
It's about focusing on the positive and finding the good in every situation.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one, it's a little more practical. It asks, how do you manage time effectively when juggling multiple responsibilities? I think we can all relate to that. Life gets busy.
Time management is always a challenge. You got to find what works for you and be open to changing things up. One important thing is prioritizing what really matters. Focus on that. It's easy to get distracted by urgent things, but it's the important stuff that moves you forward.
So true. And speaking of staying focused on your goals, there's a prompt in the staying motivated section that I found really helpful. It says, how do you break large tasks into smaller manageable pieces to avoid feeling overwhelmed? Sometimes those big tasks, they can be scary.
Totally. When you break them down into smaller steps, it's not so overwhelming anymore. It's like climbing a mountain. You don't just leap to the top, you take it one step at a time.
Make a plan, focus on each step. And you know what? Sometimes you got to let go of being perfect.
Progress over perfection, which reminds me of another good one. How do you remind yourself that progress takes time? It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see results right away, but real change takes time and effort.
Trust the process. Celebrate those small wins along the way. You know what really struck me about these prompts? They can apply to anyone.
Mm.
It's not just about school. It's about growing as a person. They give you a framework for dealing with new challenges and making positive changes.
I agree. It's like a toolkit for self-reflection and setting goals. You can use it anywhere. New job, starting a business, just trying to improve your life. These prompts can help you figure out where you want to go and how to get there.
It's like having a personal coach. But instead of a coach, it's a journal and your own thoughts and feelings.
I like that. And speaking of your own thoughts, self-awareness is key. These prompts really encourage you to pay attention to your thoughts, your feelings, your motivations. That's where growth starts.
Self-awareness is the foundation for change. It's about knowing yourself, what you're good at, what you struggle with, what motivates you. It's about being honest with yourself about where you are and where you want to be.
And journaling is such a powerful tool for building that self-awareness. It gives you a safe space to explore your thoughts and feelings without judgment. It's a place to be honest with yourself and really listen to that inner voice.
It's like having a conversation with yourself on paper. Okay, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier, defining success on your own terms. Lestallion really emphasizes that, and it's so important. It's about letting go of what other people think and focusing on what truly matters to you.
Success isn't the same for everyone. It's about setting goals that fit your values and what you want out of life and celebrating every step you take. It's about finding what makes you feel good regardless of what anyone else thinks.
It's so easy to compare yourself to others and want their approval.
Mm.
But real success, it comes from inside. It's about living a life that feels authentic to you, even if it doesn't look like what other people expect.
You said it perfectly. And these prompts can really help you figure out what that looks like. They make you think deeply, explore what drives you, and create a vision for your life.
It's about taking charge of your own journey and designing a life that reflects your values and dreams.
Yeah.
You're the author of your own story.
And sometimes that story will have unexpected twists and turns. That's where resilience comes in. You got to be strong and flexible enough to adapt to change and overcome challenges. Setbacks are a part of life. You got to know that you have the power to bounce back.
Embrace the journey, all the ups and downs, and use those experiences to learn and grow. Okay, before we move on, I want to highlight one more prompt. It really stood out to me. In building new habits, Lestallion asks, what is one habit you want to let go of this school year? Sometimes letting go of old habits is just as important as making new ones. You got to make room for growth and change.
It's like cleaning out your closet. Get rid of the things you don't need anymore. Make space for the new things you love.
It's about being intentional, creating a life that feels good by choosing habits that support your well-being. It's amazing how much power we have to shape our life with the choices we make every day.
We're not just passengers. We're the drivers. We choose our thoughts, our habits, and ultimately our destiny.
I love that. Take control, create a life you love.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot, but there's still so much more. Personal growth never ends. It's exciting.
What's cool about this blog post is that it gives you a way to keep reflecting and improving. It's not a one-time thing. You can revisit it throughout the year as your goals change. It's a resource for different stages of your life.
It's like a personal development toolkit, always there when you need it, and it's flexible. You can use these prompts as a starting point and tailor them to your needs.
I love that. It's relevant for everyone. No matter where you are in life, there's always room to grow. There are always new beginnings. It's about embracing change and making choices that match your values.
Take that back-to-school energy and create a life that feels good and meaningful.
I think we did a pretty good job unpacking these 50 back-to-school journal prompts. What do you think?
I think we hit all the important points. Gave our listeners a good foundation.
I'm feeling inspired. Ready to try some of these prompts myself. What about you?
I'm always down for some self-reflection.
All right, well, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Ooh, I love a good thought to ponder. Like homework, but fun.
Exactly. So here it is. Think about the power of journaling. How can writing down your thoughts and reflections actually rewire your brain for success? It's a question worth exploring.
It makes you think. It shows you how powerful journaling can be. You know, there's a lot of research on how journaling helps your mental and emotional well-being. It can reduce stress, improve your mood, boost creativity.
It's like a mental detox. You
Yeah.
process your thoughts and feelings, get clarity, let go of things that aren't helping you.
And get this, the act of writing itself can change your brain. When you write, you're using different parts of your brain, language, memory, emotions. When you do this over and over, it strengthens those connections in your brain, makes it easier to access those positive states of mind.
So we're training our brains for success.
Exactly. You're actively shaping your brain and your life.
Journaling isn't just something nice to do. It's a powerful tool for personal growth and change.
It's about using your mind to create the life you want.
And these 50 back-to-school journal prompts, they're a great place to start. They're all about self-discovery, setting goals, building habits.
They give you a structure for exploring your inner world, setting goals that matter, and developing the habits and mindset to reach them.
So if you're feeling stuck or unmotivated or just need a fresh start, check out this blog post. It's a great resource to help you tap into that back-to-school energy and make positive changes.
It's never too late to learn, grow, and start something new. It's about that childlike curiosity and wonder that we all have inside, using that to fuel your personal growth.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. It's been great exploring these ideas with you and our listeners.
The pleasure was all mine. It's always fun to dive into these topics and share what we learn with everyone.
And remember, even small steps can lead to big results. Just like consistent journaling can shape your thoughts and actions, small, intentional actions can create lasting change. So grab a journal, pick a prompt that speaks to you, and start writing. You might be surprised by what you discover about yourself and the potential you have. Until next time, keep diving deep.
Filled with surprises.
And the best part, we don't have to do it alone. We've got each other, our community, and resources like this blog post. You know what's really fascinating to me? How journaling can have such a big impact on our brains, on our lives. We talked about rewiring our brains for success. But I think we should dig into that a little more. What do you think?
Well, you're talking about neuroplasticity. The brain's ability to change and adapt throughout our lives. It's constantly making new connections based on what we do and what we experience.
It's always evolving.
Exactly, and here's the cool part. We can actually influence how our brains evolve by making choices and taking action. Journaling is a perfect example. When you consistently reflect and write down your thoughts and feelings, you're creating new pathways in your brain, pathways that support the positive changes you want to see.
So it's not just writing stuff down. It's changing your brain.
That's right. Every time you journal about a goal you want to achieve or a positive experience, you're making those connections stronger. Over time, it becomes easier for your brain to access those positive states, which means you're more likely to do things that line up with your goals and values.
No, we're literally rewiring our brains for success.
And it's never too late. Neuroplasticity, it's a lifelong process. No matter what age you are, you can change your brain and change your life.
So basically journaling, it's not just a fluffy feel-good thing. It's a powerful tool for personal growth and change.
Use the power of your mind to create the life you want.
And these 50 back-to-school journal prompts, they're a great place to start. It's all about self-discovery, goal-setting, building habits.
They give you a framework. Explore your inner world. Set meaningful goals. Develop the habits and mindset you need to get there.
So if you're feeling stuck, unmotivated, or just need a change, check out this blog post. It's a great resource to help you tap into that back-to-school energy and make some positive changes in your life.
It's never too late to learn, grow, and start fresh. Tap into that curiosity and wonder we all have inside. Let that fuel your personal growth.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. It's been awesome exploring these ideas with you and our listeners.
Absolutely.
And remember, small steps can make a big difference. Just like journaling can shape your thoughts and actions. Small intentional choices can lead to lasting change. So grab a journal, pick a prompt that speaks to you, and start writing. You might be surprised at what you find out about yourself and what you're capable of. Until next time, keep diving deep.